Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2:38 here in the UK, so we're into the US trading day by about 8 minutes. And as you can see, it's a big day. All eyes are focused on the US FOMC day, and we'll see what Mr. Powell has to say in a couple of hours' time. At the moment, things are pretty steady. The Dow's off 73 points. S&P up about 3 points, so I would expect it to be fairly flat until he speaks. So let's have a quick look at various markets. That's the VectorVest market timing chart, which is an equally weighted index of all of the 8,000 plus shares that we follow in the US markets. I think it's the widest measure of the US market that I certainly know of. And I've marked on our DEW medium market timing signals that I've been using in this campaign, and that was the signal. It wasn't an easy signal to get into markets on the 6th of April. The UK signal came a day later on the 7th of April, and I've been holding positions since that. This market's come a very long way, and it is in a mega overbought situation with the buy-sell ratio at 12.81. That means that there's 12.81 more companies on a VectorVest buy than on a VectorVest sell. And the VectorVest fellows in North Carolina that have been looking at this for many years say they've never seen that before. So we're in a mega overbought situation. The MTI, which is a measure of market momentum, is at 1.78 on a scale between 0 and 2. And when it's above 1.65, it's certainly getting toppish and into a mega overbought situation. Nevertheless, the trends are still up apart from these couple of days down, and clearly the market in fact discounting that a huge amount of money that's been put into markets by central bankers all over the world, that's going to get they're betting that that's going to get earnings back to pre-virus levels fairly quickly indeed. Time will tell whether they're correct or not. I think, and I'm going to say it again, folks, that if we were to print one of these DEW sell signals, that signal needs to be taken very seriously indeed. I'm holding long positions for the moment, and the ones in the US that I'm holding, I'll show you some of them now. They look really good in the US. In the UK they've come off a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to hold those until we get that DEW signal. And then, because this market is so overbought at the moment, when we do print a sell signal, then I think I'll be raising quite a bit of cash, and that signal from an overbought situation can quite easily precipitate quite a sudden sell-off, and there of course there could be some wonderful shorting opportunities in the market, but that's for another day. At the moment the trends are still solidly up. If you have a look on the front page of VectorVest, short-term trend is up, the longer-term trend is up, and the longest measure of the trend on VectorVest is up. Folks, there was a gentleman 2,500 years ago who wrote a book on war, Sun Tzu. I'm sure some of you have read of it, but he said the worst policy is to mount an attack on a walled city. If an impatient general besieges a walled city, he will lose a third of his troops. So let's just be patient, let this market turn, and don't try and call a top, folks. That's just suicide, and you will lose a third of your troops doing that. So let's have a look at some others. That's the SPX, and again it's sitting inside the range of the last couple of days. Everybody waiting on what Mr. Powell has to say a little bit later today. That's the buy signal we got on the 6th of April, still intact. And this is AMD. Now, I've been holding a position in this for quite a while, and AMD has traded this textbook cup and handle pattern, made a little double bottom here. As you know, I refer to that double bottom as a spring, and it is a classic spring. Resistance became support, couldn't make a new high, and then it comes back and runs these stops. Now it's moving up the page. So that, I believe, I'm already in. I was actually in earlier here, and I got stopped out. and got back in here again, and I'm expecting a fairly decent move for that. It seems to have broken up today, and nobody knows what's going to happen next, folks, but nevertheless I'm hoping that and this can be in fact repeated, and that would be a $15-20 move. That could take us up to about $70 in that share. I've been waiting for that for a very long time. We have a look at a bit more data. You can see very strong trend here. That was the route, and now we seem to be moving again. Clearly, if the general market moves or at least hangs in there, that's going to go with it. Another share that looks really interesting from my if I go to viewers, Lulu has been a great performer. It's really going really well, but Microsoft would seem to have broken as well. Here we go. There's Microsoft earnings looking really great. There's the route. It's come back, and it traded also a spring formation. That low didn't quite take out this low, but nevertheless it obviously came down far enough for the smart money to get filled, and it's now broken, and I think that this can move a great deal higher over the next week or two, and again a lot of this could in fact be repeated on the upside. That would take us well over $200 in that share. Nevertheless, it's going very nicely today indeed. TTD, I saw somebody the other day that's got a $500 target on TTD based on a long-term weekly projection, up $4 today. Let's have a look at the chart. I'm long of the share, and I only got in a little bit late in this move, got in just there, and quite predictable. Those of you that know my work will know that I like to see a market find a bit of resistance, comes back, tests it once, goes up, then runs those stops, and then reverses, and we got this beautiful pin bar, and clearly when it got down below those levels, it was hit really hard by some professional money. Tails and candles, folks, are normally professional money. It's normally guys who've been around the block many times that have got the testicular fortitude to buy at the low of the day. Invariably retail money is buying at the high of the day when there's a fair amount of confirmation. I didn't buy at the low of the day. I bought at 300, and it's now going very nicely indeed. As I say, if you have a look at a very long-term chart of TTD, you'll see that it can quite easily get to $500. I doubt if it'll get in this move. Nevertheless, the share is moving very nicely indeed. So folks, a big day for markets on both sides of the pond. Let's wait and see what Mr. Powell has to say a little bit later today. Bear in mind that on both sides of the Atlantic and all over the world, folks, these markets are in a mega overbought situation, and as soon as Victor Vest starts to print sell signals, those sell signals need to be taken very seriously indeed, because they could quite easily precipitate quite a nasty little move, even under the most optimistic of scenarios. A pullback could be quite severe even if the bull market is intact, and of course if the bull market is not intact, and what we've seen in the SPX is in fact a rally in a bear market, then we would be looking at a push down to the March lows, and that would be very nasty again. So let's lock in these profits. It's been a great campaign. Let's just be very careful, and I can't tell you what to do, but all I know is that as soon as I see any evidence of this turning, I'm going to be locking in these profits, and I can quite easily chill a little for a while on a Spanish beach and spend the time drinking vast quantities of San Miguel. Let's see what Mr. Powell has to say. I hope you found this helpful. Now, I've just gone over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and some fellow phoned me the other day giving me a hand, and he says that I must tell you all to subscribe. There's a little button down there that you need to press on and you can subscribe. There's no cost to it, folks, and I never intend to have any advertising on this, but more subscribers would make it feel worthwhile doing these videos. Thanks very much indeed. Bye bye.